Happy 150, folks, and welcome back to hashtag AskGSM, where I, Graham GSM Matthews, over the past 150 episodes, I've answered your questions from Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube right here in this forum. So that being said, guys, first and foremost, I apologize for the video going up so late, this monumental video. First and foremost, actually, thank you for your amazing support. For the amazing support you find, folks, from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the word of mouth of the show. This show has grown immensely over the past 3.5 years. Can you believe that? 150 episodes, 3.5 years strong, almost 3.5. We started doing it in July of 2013, so not a 3.5, about 3.25, but still, it's been over 3 years, which to me blows my mind. I've been doing this show since even before I started college, and I'm currently in senior year of my college career, which is amazing. Mind-blowing, really. So anyway, the second thing, was that I apologize for the delay. The video's been delayed more times than Kurt Hawkins' fucking debut. It was going to go up on Monday. And the thing is this, even though I had the day off on Monday, in my mind, weeks ago, I was thinking, oh, amazing, like I have the day off, and I can record it as long as I want to, amazing. The thing was that not only I had the day off, everyone else in this entire fucking campus had the day off, including my roommate. So I couldn't record the show here in the dorm. I couldn't go out. I literally walked around campus for almost 20 minutes trying to find some place to record, and then I just said, fuck it, I can't do it. I'll just wake up earlier tomorrow and do it on Tuesday morning. And then when I woke up on Tuesday, right before I was about to leave for work, which is when I usually do it anyway, on Monday mornings, right before I leave for work and after my roommate's gone, he stayed because he went in later. So I couldn't record it then either. By the time I got back, I was thinking, okay, I might record it when I get back in time for SmackDown. I can record it at 7, right before 8. Perfect. The kid's here then too! It's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So thank God I got out as early as I did today to record the show before NXT tonight, Lucha, Total Bellas. I know you guys were tuning in. So anyway, I apologize for not this going up for this not going up on time, but technically it is going up on the exact 1 year anniversary of the 100th episode. And the only way that really works out is because I took a month off from the show, not intentionally, but because, remember, my computer got fried for a couple weeks, like late last year, and I missed like a whole month of videos. That's what caught us up. So today, on the exact 1 year anniversary, not planned, of the 100th anniversary of the 100th episode of hashtag AskGSM, we are doing episode 150. So if we're doing episode 200 rather, on October 12th, 2017, I'd be concerned, because that'd be a Thursday and the show goes up on Mondays. So anyway, if you are living in the U.S., I hope you guys had a great Monday, a great Columbus Day. If you're living in Canada, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. And if you're living elsewhere in the world, I hope you had a great Monday. Or at least try to enjoy it while watching Raw, which was actually a pretty good show. It was actually a pretty good show, so I will say that. So anyway, enough of my blabbering. Let's get down to what you guys came here to hear. Your questions being answered by yours truly. Once again, before we get started as well, though, if you want to send in a question, be sure to do so, guys. At the Twitter machine, be sure to tweet me at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM, or on Facebook too. I'm all over the place. I'm so excited today. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights, or on the wall itself, or you can drop a comment/question on this very video, preferably question, to get into hashtag AskGSM. You have to ask a question on this very video in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, let's get started here. First off, from Blue Eye Disorder, my brother Jason. Be sure to subscribe to his channel at Blue Eye Disorder right here on YouTube, obviously. Your thoughts on the crowd during the TJ Perkins versus Kendrick match on Raw. He's talking about last week, of course. I thought they were trying to hijack the show and showed no interest in the match. Not sure if it was the position of the match on the card or what, but they were yelling CM Punk and Randy Savage. So it wasn't this match. I think it was the week before, or it might have been... Do I have the right week here? Yeah, I have the right week here. I think it was either the week before or it was during the other Cruiserweight match on Raw. It was not during Perkins and Kendrick, just because I remember that was in Los Angeles, and both these guys, I think, are from the Los Angeles area, so they were pretty lively during the match. It wasn't this match. I think it was during Perkins and Tony Nese the week before, but it was like, are you kidding me? And I think I ranted about this last week or something, maybe on WrestleRant Radio, I can't remember. I definitely did a rant about it somewhere where you people ask for change. You want the Cruiserweights back, so why the fuck are you shitting on these guys? Or at least during that one match. I understand we need more character development, we need a reason to care about these guys, I get that. So if they're quiet, I'm not really mad that the crowds are quiet currently during the Cruiserweight matches, just because we really have no reason to care about any of these guys, or their stories, or anything, the matches. But the chant for CM Punk and Randy Savage was so ungodly asinine. I hate wrestling fans when they do shit like that. It was so fucking annoying. It wasn't the match. The match was good. And I get it that they don't really have characters yet that you can get behind. I fucking get it. But don't chant for CM Punk, who's never coming back, doesn't give a fuck about me, doesn't give a fuck about you, doesn't give a fuck about wrestling. So why are you chanting for CM Punk? Macho Man died. He's not coming back either. I wish he will, but I wish he would, but he won't, because he's dead. So I just thought that was so stupid. I still love CM Punk, but it's like, when you really think about it, the guy's off in UFC world, getting squashed in 2 minutes, doing that whole thing. He doesn't give a shit about any of you, so why the fuck are you chanting for him? Anyway, his second question, which came via text, actually. So first ever for, on the 100th episode, 150th episode, of hashtag AskGSM. He sent this via text on Thursday of last week. Jason. He has my number. You guys don't. So, a few of you guys do. I know RG does. Whatever. Anyway, so his question was, what are your thoughts on Jack Swagger signing with SmackDown and seeming as if he was going to start over with a new look, attitude, gimmick? Maybe, but no. Same look, entrance, etc. I feel as if he will be in Jobber City sooner than we think. Disappointed a little for the hype they tried to build. I didn't give a shit since day one. Good for him for getting more TV time. He got a singles match on pay-per-view, which is unheard of for Jack Swagger nowadays. I know he got a couple pay-per-view matches out of Del Rio and Rusev in recent years, but other than that, Jack Swagger has rarely been in a singles program in recent memory, in recent years in WWE. So, good for him, but I don't care. I wrote a whole article about this for Sportskeeda about a month ago. Jack Swagger is not the answer to SmackDown's roster woes. With all the people they have out injured right now, all the vacancies they have atop the roster, with Del Rio, with them firing him and all the other people that are hurt currently, Cena taking time off, Jack Swagger is not who you need to rise to the occasion. The whole show is great. SmackDown's great, don't get me wrong. And I'm happy for Swagger for getting more TV time and shit, but that boat, that sailed a long time ago, folks. So Jack Swagger ship sailed long ago, years ago. Their real last chance to make something of him was back in 2013 with the whole Zeb Coulter thing, getting the world title push, and he fucked up. He got he didn't even get suspended. He got hurt, but he got busted for the DUI for a Dewey, for smoking weed in the car or something like that. He was drunk driving, but they also found weed in the car. It was a bad situation, a very bad situation. And that's what fucked him over. I don't think he was going to win the world championship, but he could have been something bigger on SmackDown had he not fucked up. But he did. And his push has pretty much been irrelevant ever since. He turned face and they had that whole thing. That was WWE's fault, but still. I think all hope is, pretty much gone for Jack Swagger. If they really want to make a change in the SmackDown side of things and make someone matter, don't move Jack Swagger over there so he's going to be on main event instead of superstars. Move Sami Zayn or Cesaro. Those are the guys that would make a difference. Those are the guys. Neville too. Those are the guys that if you switch them from Raw to SmackDown, they would make an instant impact by getting inserted into the main event, mid-card, or whatever. Not Jack Swagger, regardless of the fact that he's a former world champion. But if the guy wins a world championship and no one remembers it, did it really happen? Next question. Amanda 450 Splash. Your question was, with Survivor Series being held in Canada for the first time since the Montreal Screwjob, do you see WWE pulling something similar at the event? I really hope not. I don't think they will. They will occasionally, whenever they're in Montreal for Raw or for pay-per-views, they did the same thing. It wasn't in Canada, but they did at Survivor Series 98 with the Montreal Screwjob-esque finish. They did it at Breaking Point. Remember that atrocity of a pay-per-view back in September of 2009? They had Punk screw over Undertaker in a Montreal Screwjob Part 2, which was so bullshit. So this will not be in Montreal. It's in Toronto. Thank God. Because that's going to, spare us from all the Montreal references. And hey, you know what? They might get creative and do one anyway. I really hope not. Let's just embrace the awesome crowd and the fact that WWE or Canada is getting a WWE pay-per-view for the first time in fucking 7 years, which is ridiculous. I feel for you guys up north. But let's, fingers crossed, they don't make any references to Montreal Screwjob and we could just move on. It was 20 years ago. WWE's like that old ex-girlfriend that one person can't get over. It's been 20 years. Move the fuck on. Do you see Cedric Alexander being a main event player some point down the road? Absolutely. The guy is an absolute star. He's a star. He's in the Cruiserweight division for now, but that won't last long. I'm telling you. Whether it's on Raw, SmackDown, the guy's a star. And the reactions he's been getting on NXT, on the main roster, they know that. And he'll be pushed at some point. The guy's just that good. He can't be relegated to the Cruiserweight division for that long, regardless of whether he wins the championship or not. What is your favorite autograph in your collection? Great question. Got a lot of them. I have a lot of them that I've gotten signed personally, like the one from Paige from a couple months ago when I met her. I have one of Goldberg sitting right in front of me on my wall in my dorm room that I bought over the summer at some conventions, a Walking Dead convention, actually. Austin Aries, who signed that for me when I saw him a month ago, actually, at Chaotic Wrestling. I have a Beer Money autograph. I didn't get it signed in person. I just got a chip from TNA. William Regal, same thing. I got a picture signed from Adam Cole when I met him, and I'll probably do a video on that at some point here on the channel for the random video blog in the next couple weeks. He signed a picture of himself, Jay Lethal 2, the Briscoes. But I gotta say, if I had to choose just one, and they're not all in my room here. I have them all stored away and stuff, but I have one from Scotty Duhati here in the wall, Kurt Hawkins, that guy who didn't debut on SmackDown last night. But my favorite has got to be Tommy Dreamer's, just because Tommy Dreamer was the first wrestler I ever met, and it was a really cool. I've talked about this a million times, but I met him during the hockey game up in a VIP box, and he gave me free pictures and autographs and all this other kind of stuff, and I still have that autograph. I think it might be here in my dorm or back at home. I don't know. I have it somewhere, but it's one of my most prized possessions, given the fact that he was the first ever wrestler I met ever, and he was super nice, and I love Tommy. Every time I see him, he's always great to me, so that's probably got to be my favorite autograph I've ever gotten. At E13A, which successful wrestler had the worst first 6 months within the WWE? I've seen Jericho admit his first 3 months in 1999 were terrible because his matches weren't living up to expectations and he had a lot of backstage heat, which got worse after his Survivor Series match with Chyna when she complained he was an unsafe worker. In fact, the night after Survivor Series 1999, he lost to Gangrel on Raw, and afterwards, Jim Ross on commentary said, "We may have seen the end of Chris Jericho in the WWF." That I did not know. I know his first 6 months were not good. The guy was off of SummerSlam, or at least he was in a dark match. I don't fucking know, but for a guy who had an amazing debut, those first 6 months were garbage. And I know he was involved in the whole thing with Chyna, and he won the IC title, but really, that's not really what I'm sure a lot of fans had in mind when he arrived and interrupted The Rock of all people. So he's probably the best example. I'm sure there's others that I can't really think of right now. I mean, of course, you're going to have the people who debut as jobbers, like a fucking Dolph Ziggler or something. He never won a single match in his first 4, 5, 6 months in WWE. And now he's really successful. So, of course, that doesn't really count. Jericho came in as a big deal. I don't know, worst 6 months, I would say most disappointing would probably be Chris Jericho. Of course, he turned it around. He had a lot of success. Obviously, he's Chris fucking Jericho. But I'd probably go with him as the most disappointing first 6 months in WWE history, I would say. I mean, I'm sure there's others, but he was the most recent one that came to mind. And you kind of painted it pretty clearly in your question there. Elena the Y, that thing that WWE folks like to do where when a certain pay-per-view or a match is coming up, they try to insert the name into promos to set up a punchline, like Lana telling Roman, "You go to hell," to set up a Hell in a Cell match, or even Shawn Michaels, or rather Shane McMahon, trying to work over the edge into his lines. "You think I've gone over the edge? I haven't even begun to go over the edge. You're the one that's gone over the edge," was the exact quote. I always chuckled at how comically forced they sound. It's not the wrestlers, obviously, it's the writing team. "Oh, you gotta put over the name of the pay-per-view." Like, not really what you're talking about, but Fastlane. They wouldn't call it Fastlane in their promos. I don't know if they did it this year, but I know they did it last year. They would go, "It's time for WWE Fastlane." In their promos, John Cena, when he's talking to Rusev, "At WWE Fastlane this Sunday, I'm going to whip your ass." I could see the commentator saying it that way, because that's the name of the pay-per-view technically. But for the wrestlers, it sounds so forced. It did not sound organic at all. I know that's not really what you're saying, but I do know what you're saying. Like they make every single pun in the work, every single pun in the book. "You go to hell." Well, two of us are going to hell, but only one of us is coming back. To hell and back. Highway to hell, stuff like that. Every single hell pun in the book they will make en route to Hell in the Cell in a few weeks. I don't know what other pay-per-views they do that for. I'm sure they've done it with No Mercy. Unforgiven. Like, I'll do it when I do, like, my pay-per-view card rundowns and shit, but when they say it in promos, it sounds so forced. It does not sound natural at all, so I agree, it is pretty silly. Captain Sunshine, also from YouTube, did you notice the tone of Michael Cole's voice during the start of the Swan-Nice match on Raw, specifically when Corey Graves tries to establish Rich Swann's backstory of that he lost his parents when he was young, but found comfort in wrestling, and now he's simply living life to the fullest? And then Cole says, in the most McMahon soundbite voice ever, and he loves to have fun. No, I did not notice that, but that is pretty cringeworthy. I like Cole as a commentator. Actually, I don't really like Cole, but he has been better. He is a very good commentator when he wants to be. And he has been a very good commentator in recent months when he's got, Corey Graves motivating him and not JBL taking away from his great commentary. So that was a bit of a... That was not good. Frankishire 15, also from YouTube, is Rusev looking weak against Roman Reigns? Yes, he is. In the 3 months that these guys have been feuding for, I think Rusev has maybe gotten the upper hand on Roman twice, maybe. The guy got his ass handed to him at SummerSlam. He got his wife got thrown into a cake on their wedding celebration on Raw. Roman Reigns beats him for the U.S. Championship at Clash of Champions. He beats his ass the next night. He beats his ass 8 days later on this week's Raw. And another Raw this past week, too. It's just, they don't get it. I mean, Rusev has had zero heat over this guy. And now no one cares. I mean, the feud's been all right, but the fact that Roman has pretty much dominated the entire feud does not make Rusev look any better. At least Rusev got one over on John Cena here and there. I forgot to even mention the fact that Roman beat him on Raw before the pay-per-view before SummerSlam. I completely forgot about that. But yes, they are making Rusev look weak at the expense of Roman Reigns, or at Roman Reigns' expense, whatever. Or making Roman look strong at the expense of Rusev, I guess would be the best way to put it. But it's pretty stupid. I really hope he comes out of this thing all right. I don't think he will. I think it's John Cena all over again. And Roman's going to be Roman. He's going to be the guy no matter what, because he's the guy. But just the fact they're making Rusev look so weak after months and months and months of dominant build-up really is disappointing to me. Second question, in your WrestleMania 32 review, you said, ask me, as in you, as in me, you know what I mean. In 6 months, what did you think of the show? So around 6 months later, what are your thoughts? I have yet to rewatch WrestleMania 32 in its entirety. I don't think I've watched any part of WrestleMania 32 back. Usually, after some pay-per-views, I'll try to watch at least one match back, especially a WrestleMania. Especially a WrestleMania, I'll watch some parts back. I'll definitely watch it back before WrestleMania next year, not to review it, obviously, for WrestleRant, just because I want to watch certain parts of it. But other than that, and I said this at the time, and I'm going to say this now. And like you said, my thoughts at that time were that it really all depends what happens with this WrestleMania in the long term. And it was it was an entertaining show. I thought it was an entertaining show. Booking-wise, it did nothing to establish WrestleMania at all. To establish the long-term booking of this company, to establish the new era. It did nothing to further the new era in WWE. That was the Monday's Raw the next night, when Apollo Crews, Baron Corbin, Enzo and Cass, all those guys debuted, and AJ Styles became a number one contender to the World Championship. The next night's Raw was more of a furthering of the new era than WrestleMania was. Sure, Stone Cold showed up. It was a great moment. Sure, The Undertaker went 23-1 or whatever the hell it was, and Shane lost. But the outcome of that match was meaningless because Shane came back anyway. The women's title match was great. That was really the only thing that furthered the new era. AJ lost, which I thought was a great match, but then he went on to become the number one contender anyway the next night. We had Big Show and Shaq. Cool moment. It's probably setting something up for WrestleMania 33, but didn't do anything to further the next night's Raw. Baron Corbin won the Honor of the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Where did that go? You know what I mean? So I think WrestleMania, as of right now, I think we have to wait even longer, like years, but my, not immediate reaction, obviously, but even my post 6 months later reaction of WrestleMania is that it was an entertaining show. I would not willingly sit through 6 hours of wrestling again like that for WrestleMania. It was a very long show. It was a very, very long show. I would not watch it in its entirety on my own if I'm not going to review it for anything, just because a lot of parts of WrestleMania were just very dull and very boring, or didn't really accomplish anything. I would watch back Stone Cold's return. I would not watch back the match between New Day and League of Nations. And half that group isn't even here anymore. So what's the point? You know what I mean? So yeah, 6 months later, I think WrestleMania was an enjoyable show. Did it really set forward the future? Absolutely not. The first KFC also from YouTube, card prediction for whatever the next SmackDown pay-per-view is. So I can't say just because it looks like the next pay-per-view for SmackDown will be Survivor Series. I thought it was weird too, they didn't really acknowledge what the next SmackDown pay-per-view is, but it will be Survivor Series. They're not doing another one before then, nor should they. So we have a Hell in a Cell coming up in a few weeks, which the card is almost set for. Or at least half the matches, or 3/4, whatever. And then we got Survivor Series in about a month, about 5-6 weeks. And then I think the next SmackDown show after that, it will be 2-3 weeks after Survivor. I think 3 weeks after Survivor Series, and I'm pretty sure it's TLC. So I don't know what matches we're doing in that show. But as far as SmackDown matches at Survivor Series, I was thinking Cena and Ambrose. But Cena won't be and was not on the show this past week, so I don't know how likely that is. We might get Styles and Ambrose again, but I feel like they might blow that off before the pay-per-view so they could put AJ and or Ambrose in that 5-on-5 Raw versus SmackDown match. So again, it really all depends who's in that match. Because if they have, all their top stars for SmackDown in that match, they probably won't have a title match, a WWE title match. You know what I mean? So I guess we'll have to wait and see. But I can't really tell you because that's not really a SmackDown pay-per-view. And I know, even for the women, I would say, Alexa versus Becky Lynch. But they're doing that match on SmackDown because they're having a 5-on-5 women's match at Survivor Series. Their next question, why do the announcers say that the Cruiserweight division is exclusive to Raw, but they show up to NXT almost every week? From what someone told me on Twitter this past week, it's that the division is exclusive. You said it yourself, the division is exclusive to Raw. The Cruiserweight wrestlers are not. It makes no sense. I'm okay with it. I'm perfectly fine with that. The fact that, because technically, it is the same universe. NXT and the WWE main roster exist within the same universe, under the same umbrella. They don't, not acknowledge these NXT guys. I mean, they very well exist in the WWE universe, and they're canon, I guess, would be the right word for it. But, it would be one thing. I don't know. I think it's all right if they're on NXT. It would be another thing if they're on SmackDown. That would make no sense. They should not be on SmackDown. You should not have wrestlers going back and forth between the two brands. NXT is not really a brand. It's more developmental. So I'm fine with them doing the whole NXT thing as long as they don't show up on SmackDown. That's all I ask. Brandon A., promo time, inspired by Solo Monster's promo series, which is great, by the way. So he's got a couple categories here. 1, favorite NXT promo ever. 2, favorite main roster promo this year. 3, favorite Attitude Era promo. 4, favorite video package promo for a pay-per-view. And 5, favorite promo ever, not including the CM Punk pipe bomb. You know me too well, Brandon. You know me too well. So, it took me some time. This was a good question, but not one of those, what is your fantasy card for WrestleMania 45? I don't know. What is the WWE going to look like 10 years? I have no fucking idea what it's going to look like 10 years down the road. I know. I know you guys like to ask this kind of questions sometimes, but it takes a lot of time to answer them, or I just can't answer them. This one's a little easier just because it's a little less broad. It took me a couple minutes. It made me, it put me on my toes. It made me think on my toes. But it wasn't that extensive to the point where I was wasting an hour trying to answer that. At that point, I can't do this kind of question just because it takes so much time to answer. So anyway, like I said, love the Solo Monster promo series, the countdown that he's doing on the show, really good stuff. I can't say, a lot of those promos are good. I wasn't around for half of them, but they were all good though. So let's kick it off here. Number 1, favorite NXT promo ever. This took some time to think about, but then I remembered, to my memory anyway, I love this promo. The one that Kevin Owens cut on the NXT Before TakeOver Brooklyn 1 last August. And he was hyping up the ladder match between Finn Balor and himself for that Saturday for the NXT Championship. But he turned his focus to the crowd instead at Full Sail University because they were chanting Brooklyn sucks. They were booing Brooklyn because they weren't getting TakeOver. And Owens let him have it. He fucking ripped them a new one. And ripping down full, and he was telling the truth. That was the best part about this promo. Not only is Kevin Owens hilarious, but he's a truth speaker too. He's a truth teller, and he told the truth in this promo. I thought that was wonderful. You will find that online somewhere, I'm sure. Or it's on the network. You can see it there too. So 2, favorite main roster promo this year. It's got to be Miz's Talking Smack promo from a couple months ago. If you can make me watch your promo back 4 or 5 times the next day, that's how you know it's really good. And I thought that was obviously a great promo, an amazing promo from The Miz that really has made him feel fresher than ever, to be honest. So that's got to be my favorite main roster promo this year. 3, favorite Attitude Era promo. This one's a little bit hard because I don't watch a lot of Attitude Era content, and when I do, it's only the pay-per-views, and there's not a lot of promos on the pay-per-views. I don't know if it would count, and I know it's really kind of barely making the cutoff here, but the sit-down interview promo, if that really counts, between Stone Cold and The Rock that was used in the video package for their match at WrestleMania 17, that was great. So that would probably be my favorite Attitude Era promo that I've seen anyway. 4, favorite video package promo for a pay-per-view, not even close. Other than Sasha and Bayley for TakeOver, that came close, but nothing beats this for me. Punk and Cena from Money in the Bank 2011. Nothing will beat that video package for me, I'm sorry. The one for Miz and Ziggler, I know Mercy was really good. Not my favorite, but also really, really good. I just had to mention that. And the last one, favorite promo ever. That's a good question. That was tough. And then once I thought of this promo, then it wasn't as tough. Because like you said, my favorite promo far and away is the CM Punk pipe bomb. And then I thought, what other promos can I call my favorites, other than the pipe bomb? The Ultimate Warriors before he passed. Really, for what he said, the way he delivered it, the fact he passed away the next day. Really emotional, especially for me, having been a longtime Warrior fan for the past 5 years now. And having him really have been an inspirational icon in my life. And him returning to Raw, the whole thing was magical. So that's got to be my favorite promo next to CM Punk's pipe bomb. And I also forgot to mention this too. Other than Miz's Talking Smack promo, which I know is on the network and not really on Raw or SmackDown. If you're talking about Raw or SmackDown here, it's still tough to say, but the one promo, and I know RJ's going to agree with me on this, maybe it won't be his favorite, but he knows what I'm talking about. The promo Jericho cut on the SmackDown after he turned heel earlier on this year, after he turned on AJ Styles, where he took the Y2AJ shirt and burned it in the garbage can. So great. Y2AJ is officially over. And that's your fault, Styles. And now, as a result, your WWE career is going to go up in flames. Hope you're happy. AJ Styles. Just the whole promo is really good. And it really kicked off this amazing heel run that Jericho's had going for the past 6-7 months now. Chris M. from Facebook, the sole Facebook question here today. Would you want to see a Team WWE versus Team NXT match at Survivor Series? Well, one, I know you sent that in on Sunday, but now we found out it's going to be Team Raw and Team SmackDown at the pay-per-view. But even if not, no. I mean, I've said this before, but I am so fearful. I know they've, brought up Balor and Owens in really grandiose fashion, but it still, to me, doesn't shake the fact that if they were going to do an NXT invasion angle, that they would paint these guys out to be rookies, and they would get squashed by the Ortons of the Roman Reigns of the world and people like that. So I just thought it was really foolish. I think it's a foolish idea. I like it in theory. I just don't have enough faith in this company for them to do it right. And really, when you think about it, what would it really accomplish? They accomplish the same. If you're trying to say that NXT is better than the main roster, what would that really accomplish? When you already have Kevin Owens beating John Cena in his first match on the main roster. You already kind of did that already. So I don't really want to see an NXT invasion just because I don't think they would do it right. That and the fact I don't know what else it would really accomplish. It's a developmental show. It's already under the WWE umbrella. There's not really a rivalry there. Maybe backstage and which is better, SummerSlam or TakeOver, whatever. But besides that, it's not really. There's really nothing to prove there, I think. At TakerGirl007. And also the fact that people from NXT are trying to get to WWE. So again, doesn't really make much sense. Anyway, at TakerGirl007. Do you think Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar 2 would be a good or bad idea? Of course, you sent that in before it was pretty much confirmed on Raw. I think it's a good idea. I've never been the biggest Goldberg fan ever. I like Goldberg. I don't love Goldberg. I was never really. It was always for me one of those things where if he came back, I'd mark out, which I will on Monday when he comes back to Raw. But if he never came back, I just would not have complained because I feel like I didn't really see much of a desire to see Goldberg back as much as I did Sting or AJ in WWE or the Dudleys or Kurt Angle or Jeff Hardy. For Goldberg, it was like, and it's not the fact that I didn't see him during his first run. I didn't see Kurt Angle during his first run in WWE. I wasn't a fan at that point. Yet I still desperately want to see him back. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I think it's a good idea. I think, anyway, it's a good idea for Survivor Series. You get it out of the way before Mania. Lesnar can do another match of that pay-per-view. As long as it's a one-and-done type deal, and they don't do 5,000 rematches. Technically, this already is a rematch. So I'm hoping this is it. And they move on, they put him in the Hall of Fame, and that's it. He really has nothing more to prove other than having one more match, losing to Brock Lesnar, that's important, and then retiring for good. So I think it's a good idea, but it's got to be done right. Mr. Singleton 16, why is every promo a wrestler does a shoot promo nowadays? Because we're living in the reality era. They try to blur the lines between scripted, fake, kayfabe, reality, whatever. And in doing so, when everyone does it, it's not as special anymore. Like when Miz did on Talking Smack, that to me felt real. It was probably work shoot. A lot of that stuff was probably scripted for him or bullet points or whatever, but he really took it to an entirely new level. Everyone else, they try to blur the lines. Doesn't really work, as we see it all the time nowadays. They try to pull back the curtain. It may have worked. It might have worked in 1997. Not so much in 2016 when you already have the internet and all this other backstage stuff when you can really find out in an instant whether something's real or not. Ziggler does that a lot with the shoot promo stuff and saying, oh, this character sucked. Don't really need to hear him say that. Really go beyond the fact that he's talking about himself as a character on a WWE sanctioned program. That's a little much. But yeah, when they're done the right way and they're done, sparingly, then I think they work. Like the pipe bomb was so controversial and so revolutionary because no one had really spoken that tone of voice before. No one had really ever name dropped the UFC or Brock Lesnar or New Japan Pro Wrestling, all this other kind of stuff. That's usually like a no-no for promos. And now everyone does it, and it's not really as special. Second question of his, also what happened to creative commercials to hype up pay-per-views like WrestleMania 21 or SummerSlam 2003? Where did creative go in general? Not the team, not creative team, but where did the creativity in WWE go in general, really? And I don't want to shit on the product, but the posters used to be a lot better. There's some of the posters now have been pretty good, but the more recent ones, not so much, just at least in recent years. The commercials in recent years, I don't know if it's only me. In recent months, they haven't been that bad, but in years past, they would show like a family watching TV, and it's fucking awful. They had Roman Reigns in a video game last year for TLC. It just makes no sense within the theme of the pay-per-view. I remember some awful commercial for like Over the Limit of all things. It was fucking terrible. 2011, I think it was. You can find it on YouTube. But I'm glad they did away with those promos because those sucked to hype up the pay-per-views. But if you're talking about the commercials that would hype up, the pay-per-views from like Brock Lesnar F5ing a shark, like that stuff was pretty cool. And I don't know if it's a production thing or what, or a lack of creativity. I think it's the latter. I don't know, but I wish they'd bring it back too. At E13A, what do you think, or what do you know about WWE 2K17? Really not much. I don't play video games all that much. I really haven't played 2K16 all that much. I just don't really have time, and I'm not really much of a wrestling gamer, period, as much as I was years ago. I'll play like No Mercy or WWF versus WCW, Revenge or whatever, or NWO, versus WCW Revenge, which is a great fucking game for the N64. I'll play that on occasion when I'm at my grandma's house and she has an N64. But other than that, I don't play video games up here at school. Even when I'm home, I'm kind of busy or working or writing or something, so I'm not really playing video. I don't have the time, or I just don't really want to. I still get the games anyway. I'm still going to get 2K17 because when I want to play it, specifically as AJ, I will. I know they have a Paul Heyman, mode or something like that. It's Brock Lesnar's game. I know he's on the cover. I know Goldberg's DLC character, and that's pretty much it. I know the game came out this past week. I haven't really seen many reviews on it yet. But hopefully it's a good game. I think the games are fun whenever I play them. But I don't really follow, I think the roster reveals are pretty cool and stuff like that. But I used to be so desperate to find out who would be in what game or in the game, who made the cut, who didn't. And I don't know, I'm just not really as into the games as much as they once were. They're not getting worse. It's just that in getting older, I'm just getting older. And I'm just not really into the games as much as I once was. Maybe I just have more going on, I don't know. His second question: what advice would you give to someone about to potentially expect from modern day pro wrestling? To expect a lot of corniness. Whenever I watch with my girlfriend every week, even this is funny. So we're watching Raw this past week, and even I'm glad it's not only me. And I know when you and I talk about wrestling, Jason and I talk about wrestling, RJ and I talk about wrestling, we'll always shit on the Awesome Truth, or not the Awesome Truth. That was a great tag team. We'll shit on the Golden Truth. We'll shit on Titus O'Neil because they suck. I'm sorry, but these segments suck. They're awful. The Shining Stars, they're terrible. We'll shit on it, but I would love to know what a casual fan thinks of this garbage. And I don't watch with many casual fans, other than now my girlfriend. And we were watching this week, and she said, "Oh God, this show." I'm like, "What?" And she said, "This segment sucks." And I said, "I know." And it was the Golden Truth match against Titus O'Neil or something. Stuff like that. I'm glad it's not only me that recognizes how dumb this shit can be. And it's not only the internet fans complaining. It's casual fans think this stuff is trash. So I'm glad I'm not biased. But yeah, what would I tell them? Like, what would I tell her? To expect a lot of that kind of stuff. A lot of great wrestling and a lot of talking. Let's get that out of the way first. If you're expecting wrestling, like full-on action, when we get action, it's some amazing action. But when they're talking, it's long-ass promos, more often than not. So that'd probably be the number one thing I would tell someone who doesn't really watch wrestling all that much, or at least on a casual basis, to expect a lot of talking. A lot of talking. Especially from Stephanie McMahon. God, for God's sakes, Stephanie McMahon. Oh, God, we see a lot of her talking on Raw every week. Next question of his: favorite non-WWE pay-per-view? I don't watch many pay-per-views other than WWE's. I've only really reviewed WWE pay-per-views on WrestleRant and stuff like that. I've seen one ECW pay-per-view, the first pay-per-view they ever did. I watched the first ever WCW pay-per-view from I think Starrcade 83 might have been. So a while ago. I watched that. Other than that, I haven't seen any other WCW pay-per-views or ECW pay-per-views in their entirety, so I can't say. I've only really seen one ROH. I've been to one ROH pay-per-view. I've seen quite a bit of ROH pay-per-views. None of them really stood out as being, wow, that's my favorite. The TNA pay-per-views, I would say Destination X was probably the closest thing to being my favorite all-around TNA show. It had Aries and Rude for the TNA title, Samoa Joe versus Kurt Angle, AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels in a last man standing match, which was fucking amazing. They had some Ultimate X match, DJZ winning the belt. They had that kid who broke his neck, Jesse Sorensen, showing up and teasing something between him and DJZ, which went nowhere, by the way, who they fired anyway, Jesse Sorensen, despite the fact they broke his neck. But regardless, I just think that show was great. That show was probably the closest thing to being my favorite pay-per-view that was not a WWE show. At Diggity which is sabotage spelled backwards. You can't really pronounce it any one way. His question was, who should be AJ's next challenger on SmackDown? Randy Orton, ? Well, it looks like we found out on Tuesday. It's going to be Dean Ambrose for right now while Cena's out. But beyond Ambrose, I would say Orton. Once Orton is done with this feud, I guess you could call it, with Bray Wyatt, I could see him moving in. I do see him moving in the world title picture. With AJ at some point, the matches those two could have would be great. That could keep AJ busy through the end of the year, going into 2017. I really want to see him as champion going into the new year, so I hope that happens. But, I see beyond Ambrose, if that's what you mean. I see probably Orton, as you said, being the next guy to step up and challenge for the championship. At Swagzio, who will challenge Dolph Ziggler for the IC title. The Miz, apparently, for right now, it looks like we're getting a rematch, which I hope they blow off on SmackDown. I don't want to see the feud dragged out any longer. I think they reached their peak at No Mercy. I'm ready for this thing to reach its end. I'm ready for this rivalry to reach its end. But beyond Miz, that's the thing. I mean, that was really the biggest criticism I had of Ziggler winning the belt, is that we've already seen him face Baron Corbin, Randy Orton, John Cena, Dean Ambrose. Who really else is there left? Apollo Crews, if they turn him heel, maybe. I guess I don't really want to see Ziggler and Corbin again. That'd be god-awful. So hopefully not that. We've already seen him and Swagger a million times. There's really not one person that I could think of that's going to make for an interesting opponent for Dolph Ziggler. So I don't know, but I would assume Baron Corbin at some point. Beyond Miz, anyway. His second question, why did Cena versus Ambrose versus Styles open the show, and was it smart to do so? Well, they did it for the politics, for the debate that went on at 9 o'clock here on the East Coast, and they wanted to get the match out of the way early. Whatever, I don't think it affects subscription feeds or subscription numbers, or there's not really ratings for the WWE Network, so I don't think it really would have made a lick of a difference, but that's why they did it. Was it smart to do so? No, just because it was the second best match of the night next to the IC title match, and the rest of the show was... If they built up the show in a way, like I feel like No Mercy or Backlash was so good was because they paced the matches really well. They saved the best matches for last, the best match for less than Ambrose and Styles in the main event. And this show, the pacing was all over the place. They had one of the most amazing matches in recent memory in the opener, another amazing match right in the middle between Ziggler and Miz, and a pretty mediocre match in the main event between Orton and Wyatt. So the pacing was way off. That was probably the show's biggest issue, but no, it was not smart to do so. I can understand why they did it. I get why they did it, but I don't really agree. I could see for Raw making that making a difference. For the pay-per-views, not really. At John Wealth 23, your least favorite cruiserweight. Lindsay Dorado is pretty cool. I just don't know much about him. Tony Nese, I don't really care about at all. The guy's a really good wrestler. There's just something about him I just don't give a shit about the guy. He just seems very generic, other than the fact he looks, really muscled up for a small guy, for a cruiserweight. He's really nothing about him excites me, so I guess Tony Nese for right now. Other than that guy, Daivari, if he sticks around, he's my least favorite. It's not that he's not good. It's that he got eliminated from the first round of the Cruiserweight Classic, and nothing about him stands out in the fact that I'm Indian, cheer me. That's so terrible. That's so fucking terrible. I talked about this with Jason a couple months ago. He brought it up that no Indian American is ever going to get over because they always saddle them with these fucking stupid-ass gimmicks that, I come in peace like Jinder Mahal. What is he, a fucking alien? You know what I mean? It's so stupid. And they're doing the same thing with this guy. Wearing the turban. Boom, I'm Indian. It's so fucking stupid. I know Kali got over for dancing as a babyface, but that was different. I think whenever... You can't have... It's just... I totally agree with Jason. It's so stupid. But he's probably my least favorite cruiserweight if he has been signed to the Raw brand. His second question, when should Heath Slater and Rhino drop the tag team titles? Not to the Spirit Squad, I would say. I think it's a good feud for now. I'm glad that Dykstra's back. I like Dykstra. But, I hope they're not the two to beat them for the belts. I really hope that's not the case. I would rather see them drop the belts to the Usos. They're the hottest team that are not baby faces right now in that division. So I'd rather see them drop the belts to the Usos at some point in the near future because they are the hotter team. Slater and Rhino are over. They still are over. But I think the Usos should be champions at some point, which I never thought I would say, but they're that over as heels. They're doing such a good job as heels right now that I think they need the belts before long. Maybe within the next month or so. Was it stupid for Eddie Edwards to become TNA champion and beat Lashley without any hype on a random episode of Impact? Yes, it was. I like Eddie Edwards. The guy's a great wrestler. He's been World Tag Team Champion this year, X Division Champion, now World Champion. But Lashley has really been one of the biggest MVPs, other than Matt Hardy. Lashley has been one of the biggest MVPs for TNA in 2016. They built him up really, really well. They turned him heel against Angle. He's beaten pretty much everybody. He beat Kurt Angle clean. He beat Drew Galloway clean. EC3 clean, which is a big fucking deal. He's beaten pretty much everybody. Pretty much everybody. And then they have him lose to Eddie Edwards, of all people, clean, on the post-Bound for Glory episode of Impact Wrestling. Why? Maybe the follow-up will be better, but it's just like... one of those, only in TNA kind of moments. Because the guy really, as much as I like Eddie Edwards, has not been a threat in months. He lost to Lashley twice. He lost to Drew Galloway clean at Bound for Glory. So how the hell, or not Galloway, fucking Aaron Rex. So how the hell am I supposed to take him seriously as a threat to the title? That I just thought was really, really mind-boggling. Next question. Or of his anyway. What was up with Aiden O'Shea accompanying Billy Corgan without it even being addressed? I have no idea. I wrote the same thing in my review. I have no idea. I don't really care about Aiden O'Shea. He's never really been established at any point since coming to TNA about a year ago. Do not give two shits about the guy. They never really said why he's with Billy Corgan. And honestly, I don't really care. At Shawn Markistic, match of the night at No Mercy. Match of the night at No Mercy. It's got to be Ziggler and Miz. The opener was great between Styles, Cena, and Ambrose. But from the video package, the story, the match itself, the moment of Ziggler winning, it's got to be Miz and Ziggler as the match of the night from No Mercy. Who can you see Strowman facing on Raw since he's asked for real competition? Enter rant time. Rant time with GSM for just a minute here. I'll tell you who it won't be, and it's not going to be Samoa Joe. Because I know that was reported by Ringside News. And I don't really rant on dirt sheets, on wrestling reporters. I think that Dave Meltzer is a lot more credible than people give him credit for. He's getting his sources from somewhere. Unlike these goofs at ringsidenews.com or net or whatever the fuck it is. They literally make up their sources. They make up their news. And the worst part is that people think they're telling the truth. People thought they were telling the truth and they thought the New Day was breaking up a couple months ago. They thought, the New Day is being rumored to be broken up because they're not as popular anymore. What? They're still together and more popular than ever before. They're selling fucking cereal for these people. They're selling cereal for the New Day and they're not popular? So they're going to break them up? Give me a break. They make up their own sources based off what they see on TV. Oh, Samoa Joe is rumored to be the next call-up to take on Braun. Who the fuck said that? I saw that reported. And the Inquisitor picked it up. Another goofy-ass website. It was pretty credible more often than not, but when they pick up shit from Ringside News, that's not a credible source at all. If they said per the Wrestling Observer, then I get that. But they didn't. They didn't. They just make up news. And that was one thing. They said Samoa Joe stepping up to face Braun Strowman. Whoever said that? Who said that? It's the same website that reported Dolph Ziggler's leaving. Well, he won the belt on Sunday, just like I said he would. Because his contract doesn't expire for another 6 fucking months, people. People thought his contract was done. Why? We found out a year ago he signed through 2017. So just because they tell you on TV he's retiring doesn't mean he will. And he's not. So don't follow that website. That's a load of garbage over there, so don't read them. They're trash. Anyway, who do I think it's going to be? Well, I know it's not going to be Samoa Joe. And if it is, I'll eat my words. But I just think that website is total trash and clickbait. It just makes me so mad. Anyway, who do I see facing up to face Strowman? Who do I see stepping up to face Strowman? Probably, well, not Luke Harper because he's on SmackDown. Mark Henry or Big Show. I hate to say it, but it's going to be one of those. You know that's where they're going with this. You know it's going to be one of those two. If Strowman wins, fine. The match is going to blow. But as long as Strowman wins, I'm fine with it. If they give Big Show the win over Braun Strowman, I'm done. Next question. Push repackage release. Naomi, Eva Marie, and Alexa Bliss. Gotta push the Mistress of Tushville. Gotta be Alexa Bliss. Being pushing her. Repackage, this is tough. I'd repackage Naomi, release Eva. It looks like Eva's getting into acting anyway, and she sucks. I wouldn't really repackage Naomi just because she's probably doing the best work of her career right now. But I'd rather keep her around than get rid of her. So I'd sacrifice repackaging her and then releasing Eva. I know she's hot, but she's getting into acting anyway. She sucks in the ring. The character, what they were doing with her before she got suspended was pretty cool. But she still sucks in the ring compared to Naomi, who is also not great, but she's a lot better in the ring than Eva is. So I'd keep her around over Eva. Push repackage release. Tony Nese, Rich Swann, and Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak. Push Swann. The guy's super charismatic. Repackage Gulak. Gulak, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm sorry. Gulak, I think, is a great wrestler. He just needs a gimmick, so I'd repackage him and get rid of Nese. I already said before, he's not really my favorite, and I don't really care for him. He comes off more generic than Gulak does, so I'd repackage him, release Nese, and push Rich Swann. He's super charismatic. Can you handle this? Can you handle this? Can you handle this? At Scarlet One, also from Twitter, what if No Mercy was closed out by Miz and Ziggler and ended at 2 hours? I would not have complained, because we would not have gotten the women's match between Alexa and Naomi, which was not good anyway, not a good match. Would not have cared if we didn't get that. And then we wouldn't have gotten Harper and Harper's return, which would have sucked. But I wouldn't have. That match should have main evented. Let's just leave it at that. Ziggler and Miz should have main evented that pay-per-view. I don't know why it didn't. They wanted to save it for the big surprise with Harper. Well, Ziggler winning was a bit of a surprise too for some people. So they should have closed out that match over Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton of all things, because the match wasn't good anyway. So just save the match for earlier on in the card and then do Miz and Ziggler in the main event. Best Eddie Guerrero match I've seen. probably any match he's had with Benoit, whether it was the ECW One Night Stand pay-per-view in 2005, the pay-per-view match he had with Benoit in 2003. I think he faced him in 2002 Armageddon too. So any one of those matches were really good. The matches he had with Rey Mysterio were great. The matches he had with Batista, the match he had with Batista at No Mercy 05 was really good. So any one of those matches, probably the matches with Benoit. Or Angle too. Or Brock. There's a lot of good ones to choose from, but I would go with the matches with Benoit. I feel like those two had better chemistry than anyone else. Have you ever watched any cartoons? Not really. I'm not really much of a TV watcher, period. I was more of a Disney Channel guy than a Cartoon Network guy anywhere, Nickelodeon. But not really. I mean, I'm sure I did like 10 years ago, but I really haven't watched TV at all in a long time, other than Raw and shit. But I'm sure I did when I was a kid. I couldn't tell you exactly what though. Who's the MVP of the wrestling world in 2016 so far? It's got to be AJ Styles. I mean, I don't watch much Japan wrestling. I know Tanahashi or fucking what's his name, Okada's doing great work over there, but I can't really say because I don't watch it regularly. Adam Cole's doing some great stuff in Ring of Honor. Jay Lethal also in Ring of Honor. Lashley for TNA, but I think overall you got to go with AJ just because he's been killing. He showed up in the Rumble, literally was rumored to come to the company in the first Monday of the year. Then you have him debut in the Rumble, have a great series of matches with Chris Jericho, amazing series of matches with Roman Reigns, amazing series of matches with John Cena, who he beat twice, and Money in the Bank and SummerSlam. Then the guy wins the belt, and he's still champion now. And now he's the face of SmackDown. So I think you got to go with AJ Styles as the MVP of the wrestling. Definitely WWE. I don't know about the whole wrestling world, but from what I watch, it's got to be he's got to be the MVP of 2016 in my opinion. If the Ruthless Aggression era lasted from WrestleMania 14 to 17, what's the timeline for the other eras? Golden Age, New Generation, and Ruthless Aggression. Did I say Ruthless Aggression first of all? I think it was Attitude Era was the initial question, but Golden Age? I would start Golden Age. I know there was exact time periods. I don't really remember when it was. I would say it started when Hulk Hogan won the belt and Hulkamania era started. Hulkamania was running wild. So 84 through 93 up until he left. New Generation 94 through 90. Well, you said WrestleMania 14 was the start of the Attitude Era, and that's 98. So I guess through 97. And people always say Ruthless Aggression lasted from 02 to 08 up until they went PG. In my opinion, it really went up until only 05. Because 06 and 07 were not Ruthless Aggression by any means. Those years were good years, but they weren't great. I thought 02 through 05, especially for SmackDown, were really saw the rises of Rey Mysterio, John Cena, Batista, Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton, Edge, Shelton Benjamin, a lot of those guys. That was more so their time period and the Ruthless Aggression era and stuff like that. So I would go with that as the Ruthless Aggression period from 02 to 05 as opposed to 02 to 08. At Silver Eye 007 with the last two questions here. Has Randy Orton lost a step or two since the return? That Bray Wyatt match was awfully sluggish. In the ring, maybe. I mean, that was his first match back, I think. I mean, he faced Eric Rowan in a match a couple weeks ago. That match went all of like a minute, so it doesn't really count. So we really haven't seen much of Orton in the ring. I think he's been better since he came back, honestly, character-wise. The goofy shit he's been doing with Bray Wyatt has been beyond stupid. It's like Hogan and Warrior levels of garbage from like 1998. And the whole mirror stuff, it's campy, it's dumb. I'm sure even kids roll their eyes at it. It's just not funny. It's not creative, whatever. But I think character-wise, he was better during the feud with Brock going into SummerSlam. He was great. Came back at Battleground. It looked like he was happy to be there. The stuff with Brock I thought was awesome. The match wasn't that great, but the feud was. I think maybe he's lost a step or two in the ring, but I mean, it's not like he suffered a career debilitating injury just because he was gone for 9 months, and he was also gone even longer than that before that point. So, I don't think so. I think he's been fine since he came back. But I could see what you're talking about. The Bray Wyatt and Orton match, they just don't have good chemistry. That's really what it is. They don't have good chemistry. It shouldn't have been in the main event, that's for sure. But regardless, I just think for the fact that with Orton and Wyatt, they just don't have good matches. The match at Backlash, they didn't have a match at Backlash. And No Mercy, it was all right. It wasn't terrible. It was just boring, like you said. It was pretty sluggish. Last question. A while ago, you were asked if Raw or SmackDown did anything better than NXT, and you said no. Has that changed now? Great question. And I love you guys from the WrestleMania question from earlier, I think it was from the first KFC, to this question right here from @SilverEye007. Thank you for the consistency of the videos, for watching for as long as you have, because I know someone asked that question a while ago. And you're right, I did say no. And that the main roster can learn some things from NXT. That said, I think they can learn some things now. Sure, NXT, just hyping things from week to week. I think SmackDown and NXT have a lot of things in common with like less is more with the authority figures and stuff like that. They do that really well. Maybe the pacing of the show and not doing so many squash matches on one show, which NXT does a lot. I know it's a developmental show, but they do so many squash matches in one episode, it's kind of overkill at some points. So that could be a bit much sometimes. So maybe they can learn that from SmackDown. They really can't learn much from Raw. Honestly, Raw is like the show what not to do on SmackDown or NXT or any other wrestling program. But I think SmackDown's been doing really, really well recently. So I think NXT could take a few pointers from SmackDown, I'd say, in terms of how they format the shows and making the most of their roster. The women, absolutely, utilizing their women and really making them mean something. Pretty much everyone on the SmackDown side of things has a character. NXT, they have Asuka and that's it. So I think women from their women's division might be the biggest thing that NXT could learn from SmackDown at this point in time. And that's it, guys. That is it for the 150th episode of #AskGSM, 3.25 years in. I appreciate all the amazing support. I appreciate you guys sending in the questions. It really is amazing to me. If you go back and watch episode 1 of #AskGSM, which is here on the channel, if you go back in the playlist, you scroll all the way down 3.5 years ago. I wouldn't watch it. It makes me cringe. We had maybe 4, 5, or 6 questions on one episode. Now we have like 30, if that, if not more. Oh, but I'm always happy to ask more or answer more questions. Sometimes I don't always have the time. So usually if you're leaving a YouTube question, if it's a long form question, make it one. It could be bullet points and stuff. That's fine. But anyway, if you always want to send in a question, be sure to do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with #AskGSM. Find me on the Facebook page at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. You can leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Sunday nights or on the wall itself, or leave a comment on this very video, and I'll be sure to include your question in next week's edition. So, like I said, guys, the questions, or the videos rather, questions too, I guess, will not be an every Wednesday thing. This week was a one-time thing just because my roommate was not gone on Monday or Tuesday. So, I had to do it today when he was gone. He just came back right now and he left again. But it was just a little bit tougher to do it earlier this week. But I will be doing it a lot earlier, maybe Mondays. We'll see how the schedule works out. But the videos usually do go up on Mondays. So I apologize for the delay. Hope you guys had a great holiday week. I'm looking forward to Hell in a Cell in a couple weeks, which I will be in attendance for with RJ, and maybe meeting Kevin Owens earlier that day, which should be amazing. A lot of great things coming up, guys. A lot of great things coming up, and always happy to answer your questions regarding the world of wrestling right here on the show. So once again, guys, cannot stress it enough. Thank you for your amazing support of the show. 150 episodes strong, people. 150 is all I got to say. Thanks to you fine folks. Yes, I'm here every week answering your questions, but if there's no you, there's no me. If you don't send in the questions, there's nothing for me to answer. So you're really the reason why the show is going on this long. For anyone who's spread the word about the videos, and the views for the videos have gone up dramatically, more so than any other videos I do here on the channel, because you guys like watching it and getting shout outs and stuff. I appreciate that. Even if you watch for only your question, even that's enough. Even that's pretty awesome. So anyway, once again, appreciate the support. Be well, guys. Have an amazing week, and I'll catch you folks down the road.